Brothers and sisters and brothers, take a deep breath in with me. Hold for 4 seconds. Release for 4 seconds. Brothers and sisters, my wife and I want to talk about something that, well, it's important. Let me explain why it's important. Because sex trafficking is happening all around right now. Particularly because the COVID-19, I believe, is influencing a lot more sex trafficking than has been in the past. So we're going to discuss it. And I'm going to tell you some things that I've learned recently about sex trafficking. And let me tell you, it's a fucking sick, disgusting thing. If you don't know about the Epstein trial that's going on right now, I was in a mock trial, as a matter of fact. And, well, let's get to the discussion. What do you know about sex trafficking?
Sex trafficking is in the range of human trafficking, and there's different types of human trafficking. One is through human labor, one is through sex, and the other is through organs. I mean, I don't
Oh yeah,
know,
you're right.
The
I
other
didn't
one
even
might
think...
not be through organs.
No, you're right. No,
I
no.
definitely know it's labor.
That is not...
And it's sex, but
that is human trafficking. So let's talk about human
know.
trafficking, because you're right. It's not just sex trafficking. It's also human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Also through kids.
Sex trafficking is a form of human trafficking.
Yes. And why don't you explain to the audience? By the way, I want to give my thanks and praises for everybody that's watching right now. This, to me, and I'm sure, is it to her, to my wife, is a very important topic that we want to talk about and discuss. Why? Because here in Palm Beach, it happens a lot more than people realize, and awareness is key, like I always say. So I think it's important to be aware about this. And she has stories that are remarkable, and that aren't just remarkable, they're disturbing to say the very least. And go ahead, babe.
Alright, this is what happened. So I was staying at my parents' house, right? And I was right after me and my ex-fiance broke up, and I was living with them, and one of my father's co-workers decided to put there's a moat around their house, which is like, so he was walking through the moat, his shoes were wet, and he's kind of gross, and like, he's never been married, he's always single, he travels the world, and I've heard different conversations that he's very disgusting, but
and a lot of these people, I will admit, from what I know, are very disgusting. And go ahead, I got another story after this.
His sneakers were wet from walking through the moat of the driveway or whatever, so he throws them in the dryer, and I didn't want to do my laundry and throw it in the dryer, so I went to a park and decided to wash my clothes at the park and dry them on a clothesline there, which I had bought, and like, a sheriff comes by, I guess, like...
This is freaky. This shit freaks me out, and this is how serious this is.
A sheriff comes by, and he asked me whether I need any money, I had a place to stay, and he gives me some money, he tells me to go to the Lord's place, and I was like, okay, and then he goes and walks off, and then I had to go to the bathroom, so I walk to the bathroom, and I hear him talking on the phone, and I overhear him talking to someone that we need to take her to a whorehouse. So,
and you said this is a Palm Beach County Sheriff, correct?
Yes, it was. And so I ran in my car really quickly, and I drove off, and I went to...
This is what it gets freakier after this. I know the story. Go ahead, tell him. You can tell it. It's important that people know this, babe.
It's like the sheriffs and...
I'm not saying all sheriffs are bad.
I mean, like...
But this was a very fucked up occasion, and I do know the story.
No, it's like when we were younger, when I was younger, I know I learned in school about, like,
You don't yell rape.
about rapists a lot, and that was mostly what I learned at my first elementary school that I went to, was learning about rapists and learning about how, all of, like, a lot, mostly at my first elementary school, about rape. And
I wonder if it was because it had to do with Palm Beach County, because I believe Palm Beach County is the capital of human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Could
Go ahead.
be. Doesn't surprise me.
I didn't learn about it. I don't believe we learned anything about that in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you learned about this?
That was not in kindergarten, but it was up until 3rd grade.
What?
Mm-hmm.
They taught you that in 3rd grade?
Up until 3rd grade, yeah. Somewhere at my first elementary school until 3rd grade, they talked
Do you remember
about
what
that a
elementary
lot.
School?
We had different visitations from, like, the firefighters.
Shout out to the firefighters. Thanks and praises to the
Mm-hmm.
firefighters. Thanks and praises to the EMTs, and thanks and praises to the good police officers out there that are making this world a better place. Thank you. Go ahead, though.
So there's human trafficking in lots of different places, and
Something I've acknowledged.
I think it really happens.
Oh no, we know it happens here,
Mm-hmm.
but they do it. I don't know how they do it so discreetly, in which people don't notice. But I can tell you, my theory on this is because they keep them all doped up. Now, how they do it is basically they take women off the streets and they keep them doped up. Have you ever seen the movie? What is that movie called? Where she got sold in another country, and he's like, I've acquired a set of skills, and he found his daughter on a boat. You remember that movie? Great movie.
Taken,
yeah. That, I think that's based on, like, somewhat of a true story. To be honest with you, I don't know that for a fact. Don't quote me on that. However, this happens all the time. People they make bids on people all the time, and this is true. And in Palm Beach County, I don't know if this is true, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm pretty damn sure it happens here all the time. Now, what makes me think about Palm Beach County, which is very interesting, is we are very close to the water. Now, there is a case, okay, a very specific case that is well known here in Palm Beach County that I know personally, okay? And a lot of people, if you don't know this, now you know. I've spoken about this in plenty of videos. Tyler and Austin were the two individuals' names, and they went out on a I believe it was like a 20-foot, 21-foot center console boat on a day that wasn't so rough. And I grew up in these waters, okay? I know the waters like the back of my hand here. So what happened was, you remember this?
I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So the father lived, and he was in real estate. He was a big-time real estate agent, and Austin was his son. I believe his name was Austin Perry. I'm not positive. But Tyler was just the associate that just happened to be there at the time. Now, I don't know what they were a part of. Ain't my business. All I can tell you is I know it happened.
May I add into the story?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you have something like a dog, that dog collects information from whoever that is watching the dog.
We all
then you
do,
give
right.
the dog away, and what happens is you give the dog away to a place like a pound, and then like
That's a good point.
What I believe is happening is that the sheriffs and the cops, which, you know, there's good cop, bad cop, right? They go and they listen to the stories from the dog, and then
Oh my gosh.
eventually, you know, yeah, they pick up on stories from the dog that was like living with the family.
Oh my God, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
And there are psychics out there. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm psychic. I can see what happened that day to Austin and Tyler. I know it happened. I grew up here on these waters of Jupiter, Florida, and on that day there's an alleged storm that came through. Now, when these storms come through, it's nothing but wind chop. There is no way that this boat was able to be flipped. So I had a psychic premonition, and I get them all the time, and I do know what happened to them. They were trafficked. This is what happened. This is a true story. and it's fucking tragic. Now we're only from where we are right now. We are only YouTube. That's okay. We are only 60 right now from
8 miles
from
the horizon.
Well, it's
we're 8 miles from the horizon.
8 miles. Yes, correct. Okay,
Bahamas is right
60 miles
over. If you keep going over
from
the water,
where we are.
Bahamas is over.
Yeah,
there.
so we are 60 miles away from the Bahamas. Get this, right? So right now, from where we are right at this moment, we are probably about 73 to 78 miles from the Bahamas, just because we are that a few miles inland. So what happened that day to poor Tyler and Perry, or Tyler and Austin, is somebody had a flare gun. Now, if you're on the seas, especially and if you're in international water, and a boat puts up a flare gun, you by law are required to go over to that boat. So what they did was, and I know this because I get psychic premonitions, there's no way this boat flipped. So what happened was, they went to go find out what was going on, and they were tricked, literally. So they were abducted that day, and it makes me sad because I can see it in my mind happening. I know what happened, and it breaks my fucking heart, dude. They were abducted that day, and what they did was, with the boat, how they flipped the boat is the question. It's so simply answered. So they took the cleats on the boat, and they tied the ropes to the boat. And they tied ropes to the cleats, and they flipped the boat. And then they found the boat all the way off of South Carolina, which is Outer Banks, right? And they found it flipped upside down. But there was no sign of them. Well, trust me, they would have found them, as many people. And they looked for weeks and weeks and weeks. And
you gotta take care of your pets, like,
and children, obviously. But no, hold on, hear me out though. So after
we want to get a pit bull, right?
Yes, we do. So let me get to the point. They were abducted. We're not far from the Bahamas. I'm just gonna leave it at that. They were sex trafficked. I don't want to get too into it. It's a very sad story. Now back to sex trafficking and human trafficking. This goes on way too much. I actually found out something that is very fucking disturbing. They use sex trafficking now in prisons.